Biology chapter 18, theory video 17. Um, Another way of protecting wild animals is the establishment of zoos. Many people have different opinions about zoos, uh, but actually the establishment of a zoo is important uh, because the positives about the zoos actually outweigh the negatives, because there are more good things that happen as a result of zoos uh, than the negative things. It has many different functions, more going beyond providing enjoyment and interest for visitors, because there are many vulnerable species that can be protected, and also there are captive breeding programs. These captive breeding programs have the aim of reintroducing these animals later on to their wildlife. So now this the Durrell Wildlife Conservation Trust in Jersey Zoo in Channel Islands has been successful in captive breeding of tamarins from Brazil, and they have been reintroduced into the forests in Brazil. Their natural habitats had been destroyed, and as a result, these animals has been driven into extinction. They are reintroduced into protected reserves by using these captive breeding programs. Uh, However, there are some problems when it comes to breeding from small populations, that is the inbreeding. uh, the IUCN has identified cheetah as vulnerable because they have almost become extinct 10,000 years ago, and only a few survived, and from these few only the current population has increased. Uh, so however, in the wild, many the female cheetahs would be able to mate with many males, increasing the genetic diversity in the population. When it comes to research, it is very important. The zoos are very important because they can actually they can they can identify these breeding habits and would help us to increase their numbers by using these research findings. The biggest intention of captive breeding is to reintroduce animals into their natural habitat. Uh, there are many things that affects these programs. For example, hunting, poaching, and uh, hunting, poaching, and also the lack of support from people are very important things that limits these programs. Then also, when creating these habitats, it is very difficult for zoos to establish places and atmospheres for them to be to live in the wild. It is not easy for them to go back to the wild after uh, they are so used to captive breeding. Now um, uh, now these pandas in China. Uh, in China, there are more than 300 pandas in zoos. Uh, then uh, More than 300 pandas have been born in captivity, but not a single uh, uh, panda was introduced to the wild uh, wild because they are not easily adapted to these conditions. They have not a single panda was reintroduced to the wild. So when one was released, it was killed when it was 5 years old by other pandas, more probably because of it must have been identified as a threat to them. Uh, then these female lion tamarins that we discussed earlier, when they were introduced to Brazilian forests, they die because they don't have the climbing abilities, and they don't have the skills to survive. So as a result, they cannot be these captive bred animals. Uh, uh, they are not able to uh, survive in the wild. And also these captive bred animals do not identify their predators. They do not fear the predators because they are used to humans, and they expect the other predators also not to harm them. So as a result, they do not know how to avoid predators. They do not know how to find food, or they don't have the expertise in uh, rearing their own young. As a result, they will die off. Write down a note on this. Zoos, in addition to providing enjoyment and interest for visitors, zoos provide research opportunities and conservation opportunities by promoting captive breeding, and also increasing the genetic diversity. However, there are many shortcomings, such as captive bred animals have difficulty surviving in the wild because they do not have the skills needed by the wild animal to survive. I hope you understood. If you have any questions, please ask.